Hey, are you a fellow traveler, one who loves adventure and learning new things? Well, over the last 4 years since we stopped working full-time, we've spent over 400 days traveling and exploring this amazing country we live in. So for sure, we love to travel. But today I was thinking, it would be nice to share 4 or 5 travel tips with people that we've learned that has literally changed the way that we travel. Welcome to Just Say Yes, a channel that's all about travel and adventure, especially for those of us in the 4th quarter of life. And if that sounds good to you, come on along, and I'll share some tips with you. So let's get into my first tip. And this one I got from my sister, who's a world traveler and one of my favorite people on earth. And she told me, whenever possible, take the tour or hire a guide. Let me explain what I mean by whenever possible. I'm talking about if there's a tour available and if it fits in your budget. But here's the thing. Maybe you shouldn't worry about your budget that much. It's something you still want to do because, let's face it, you may have come hundreds or thousands of miles to your destination, and just going a little bit further is what's going to make it special. It reminds me of a scene from one of my favorite movies, The Shawshank Redemption.
Dear Red, if you're reading this, you've gotten out. And if you've come this far, maybe you're willing to come a little further.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. You've come this far, now go just a little bit further, because every time we've done this, it's the part that's made that trip special. So here's a cheap example. Let's say you're in a new city, like Boston or Washington, D.C. There's usually a hop-on, hop-off bus tour. Take that. Not only will you learn so much of the history and knowledge of the city, but you'll get a lay of the land, and you'll also get around town, especially in DC, where you can pretty much do all the monuments just on the hop-on bus tour. Also, sometimes the tour is free, like at a national park. As for the hire a guide part, well, we've done that on almost every trip we've been on. Like in Glacier National Park, there's an amazing hike called the Highline Trail, and it starts from the top of Going to the Sun Highway at Logan Pass. But the parking up there is almost impossible to find. So rather than getting up at 4 a.m. just to get a parking spot, we hired a guide from the Glacier Institute, Holly, to take us on the hike. And wow, it was like a 6-hour masterclass, all while hiking in Glacier National Park, starting with how to actually be bear aware.
Like the first thing you'll do when you see a bear is, of course, stop. You don't want to get closer to it. Like if you are 100 yards away, but your scent is going directly towards this bear, you're upwind from it, so probably too close.
Yeah.
I love this part of the trail.
Holly also taught us about all the various plants and animals in the park, and how all these glaciers and mountains had formed. Sure, we could have taken the free shuttle bus to the top, but this was so much better and well worth the money. Another great time hiring a guide was just outside of Page, Arizona, at Horseshoe Bend. Maybe you've seen pictures of this incredible view.
Oh my word. Hey, there it is.
Well, we wanted to see the canyon both from the top and from the bottom, so we hired Skip, a guide from Lee's Ferry Anglers, to take us fly fishing on the Colorado River.
No time done, you wait. Right here, like, right, that had him. Yeah, now.
And not only did we get to see that incredible view looking up from the river, but these 2 novices caught fish, which is a thrill I'll always remember. But hiring a guide can be more expensive, so that brings me to my second tip. Every trip should include at least one splurge. Now, the amount of money for a splurge is different for everyone, but I would say it's like this. It's one of those that almost makes you gag. It's tight, it's expensive. But here's one of my life philosophies. If you can justify it, you can afford it. So I'll tell you a story. Last year, we took a cruise to Alaska, and part of the trip was up in Denali National Park. And one of the excursion choices was a private flight to the Arctic Circle. And for sure, I was gagging on the price. But then our friend Deb said, hey, you only turn 65 once. And you know, honestly, that's all the justification I needed. So we all piled into an old twin-engine Navajo Chieftain and flew 2 hours north to the Arctic Circle. And that's where we met Jack, who showed us how he had lived off the land since the 70s. It was such an unforgettable experience that, in the end, it was well worth the money. And you know, at this point in my life, unforgettable experiences are way more valuable than money itself. So, on to my next travel tip. Print your travel documents. I know, this seems like such a no-brainer, but we had to learn it the hard way.
Use the right lane to take a slight right turn onto Gatlinburg Parkway bypass.
In our first year of travel in our RV, I think it was like the second trip we were on, we were coming into a campground in the Smoky Mountains. And of course I had the reservation on my phone. And there's no cell service in the Smoky Mountains, so we had a few tense moments there in the ranger station trying to get into the campground, but eventually we did, which brings me to my next tip. Something can or will go wrong, so stay calm and know that you'll work it out. Whether it's a flat tire, or you've lost your keys, or you're thinking, man, I think we're gonna miss our flight. Hey, every traveler has dips, especially if you travel a lot, but it's how you handle them that counts. Get through it and know that you're going to have a story to tell in the end. Okay, last tip. Get up early. Now, if you're an early riser, then you already know sunrise is a special time of day, especially when you're traveling in an RV. And over the last 4 years, I think we've seen some pretty incredible sunrises. Like this one in Bryce Canyon, where the canyon rim faces east. Or in Monument Valley, where we stayed overnight in a Navajo mud hut called a hogan, just so we could be there early for the sunrise. But really, when I say get up early, I'm talking about kind of the middle of the night early. Like last year at the Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta. What time is it?
3:30.
The Balloon Fiesta starts before dawn.
That's early.
Well, 3:31.
So you gotta get up early every day.
It's 3:30 in the morning.
Okay. Having our coffee.
Having our coffee. Gonna go ahead and right.
All right. It's 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
We are here. We're walking to Rainbow Riders for our balloon ride. Can't even talk. I'm still so asleep.
Now, if you think that adventure looks like fun, check out the whole video where I show what it's like to go up at Balloon Fiesta. I'll leave a link for you below, right here. Anyway, those are my 5 travel tips that I know will make your adventures even more fun. I hope you've learned something from this video, and maybe you've been a little bit inspired to get out there yourselves and travel more. So safe travels to you, and maybe I'll see you out there on the road.